All right, you guys, we are back. The Wrestling Heroes of the Insiders Podcast, aka the Whip Show. And I told you I had something special for you at the top of the hour. I got my guy back, author Jeremy Housewright. He was on the show before talking about his previous book, because he's all about the fans. And he's all about the fans again and talk about his new project. He's on a tour right now, man. Tell him what you got going on.
Yeah, so I am out here promoting my new book, For the Love of the Show 2 More Stories from Pro Wrestling Fans.
Now, if they were under a rock, and they weren't familiar with your first project, tell them what the whole concept was and why you decided to do a part two.
Yeah, so the concept basically originated by me traveling around the country to different wrestling shows and meeting people. And I came up with the concept because I'm like, I thought my story of being at certain WrestleManias and getting into some mischief with my buddies was pretty entertaining to tell. And then I started talking to some other fans who had other interesting stories. So that kind of made the first book happen. But with the second book, I was going for a little bit different of a look. I was trying to aim for inspirational and positive, motivating stories. So I found 11 different individuals all over the world. From where I'm at here in St. Louis, I got one guy all the way to Nigeria and the UK, and they have just great stories. I mean, I got 11 just awesome stories that'll make you laugh and cry and everything in between.
Now, I'm glad you said that. And since you just talked about inspiration, first
Yeah,
of all, I got to shout you out. I've been seeing your workout journey, my guy.
yeah, man.
Congratulations.
Thank
Keep
you.
it up, my boy.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, and that kind of originated from this. I interviewed a gentleman from the UK who lost some weight with the help of Diamond Dallas Page. And by telling his story and talking to him, it motivated me to get going. And it's been since January 1st of 2024, and I'm down 130-ish, probably a little more, but somewhere around 130 pounds.
130 pounds, you done lost a
Yeah.
whole person. Clap that up, man.
I know, man.
Jesus, man. Bet you
Yeah.
feel amazing these days.
I do, man. Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. I just got over. I'm getting over a little sinus thing, but it's. I was just telling my friends this is the first time I've been under the weather since I started. So it's been almost 2 years since I've been ill, and the last 3 days I felt miserable, and today I'm finally feeling better.
Okay. Well, glad to hear that, man. Glad to hear that. Now, I want to get back into the book real quick, but I want to let these people know also you really are a doctor. Like you are a PhD. Like what made, because they used to say wrestling fans were
Yeah,
lowbrow. You know that.
yeah, oh
What would
yeah.
make somebody like you even be so enamored by the world of professional wrestling and then that you would want to talk to fans?
Growing up, my grandfather would take me to matches here in St. Louis, and I loved it. Being a quiet kid, it was a way for me to just kind of let go and forget about all the junk that was going on outside of school and even at school. And as I grew up, it just became a form of entertainment that I've fell in love with. And I love going to matches. I love going to independent matches and meeting fans and talking with fans. And that's been the coolest thing about this is meeting with the fans. I have a few different appearances I'm doing coming up, and I'm looking forward to it because just getting to meet with fans and hearing their stories and hearing what they like about the book, that makes it all worth it for me.
And that's what I want to talk about next, man. You just stated that you have 11 fans from all over the world.
Right.
How did you decide who would be in this book? Because when listen, people love to be in front of the camera, they love to be written about. How did you whittle it down to just those 11 people? What was it about them?
Right. So, that was a tough call because the very first story of the book was an easy one. It's about a group called the Wrestling Club out of Brooklyn, New York. It's
Ooh.
a middle school group of kids. Their teachers started this club. People might have heard about them on ESPN
Mhm.
and stuff like that. They've been pretty publicized since I talked to Victor Perry, the teacher. of the club. But they were originally going to be in my first book. And because of time constraints, I just couldn't make it work. Obviously, talking with a school is a little bit of a obstacle to jump
Right.
through at times. You know, I had to get clearance from the school and some parents and so forth, and then get a hold of Victor because he's a very busy guy. He also makes music on the side, very successful with that as well. So it was a process, and I literally finally talked to him like probably 2 or 3 weeks after the first book was released. So I had just thought, you know what, why not go ahead with another book? And I didn't plan on finding 11 different people, to be honest with you. I'm really surprised that I found that many. But you know, you asked how did I whittle it down? I think I mainly just looked for the stories that I found to be inspirational to me. There were literally stories in this book that, as I was writing them, I had tears running down my face. That's
Mhm.
no lie, because they are that near and dear to my heart. They all have some sort of a meaning to me in one way or another. All 11 of them.
And we kind of talked about this before, man, but I want you to talk to this. The one thing about wrestling fans, man, are people brought together from all over the world, all walks of life. It's just such a beautiful thing. These people might not have ever met in any other space, but they've grown a bond and connection and friendships. Can you talk to that? And I know your book kind of speaks to that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's one of the driving forces behind the very first book was when I was at a WrestleMania in Orlando, Florida, and this Canadian guy came up to me and just started talking to me and my buddies. I had never met a person from Canada in my entire life.
Wow.
And I remember hearing his accent, and I'm like, man, this dude's got a really cool accent. And it turns out somehow he had a hotel room exactly right next door to ours. I mean,
Wow.
literally, his room was right next to ours. And we hung out the entire weekend. He then actually came from Canada to St. Louis and stayed with me for a while. We talk every other week or so, and so you know, it's just stories like that. I mean, meeting people. I've met people out in California that I'm good friends with. We talk almost every other day through Messenger about wrestling. We get together for wrestling shows, and that's just it's a bond that I think I'll have with these guys, you know, forever. And it's all because of pro wrestling.
I love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. Now, you talked about the story with the gentleman from Boston, and I definitely have heard about the wrestling club. But
Mhm.
out of those other stories, what's another one? Because I don't want to tell all everything, but what's
Sure.
another story that you really want to make sure people take a look at, man?
I would say chapter 11, the last chapter, is titled Just Keep Fighting. And it's about a lady named Emily from California. And I was actually wrapping up the book when I saw her story. She had posted a Facebook video from a WWE show that she was at, and Kevin Owens had come out of the ring and climbed up the concourse to where she was sitting and gave her a hug and gave her a t-shirt that he had signed. That's
Mhm.
all I knew at the time. I didn't know anything else about the story. So I reached out to her, and then I found out the whole backstory behind it, how she uses the just keep fighting motto to keep her going because she is battling stage 4 kidney cancer. And that's one of those stories, just typing it up, man. I was pretty emotional because I lost my father 20 something years ago to cancer. And I think we all know someone who we've either lost or has been affected by cancer. It's just an awful disease. And to see her, you know, it wasn't that I was crying in sadness. It was, I was so proud to be telling her story because of her just keep fighting motto. That is something that as I've went on this weight loss journey, I have kind of adopted is I believe in working hard for whatever it is. And for her, it's literally to stay alive for her son and her husband. And that story right there, man, that to me epitomizes this book. And I was very, very proud to be able to include that in the book.
I love to hear that. It's a beautiful thing, man. And with that being said, excuse me, have the participants of the book, have an advanced copy yet? Have they read their story in the book? How did they react?
I have gotten all positive messages from those who have read it. I can tell you that the guy from Nigeria has not gotten a copy yet,
Okay.
and I don't know if my buddy from the UK has gotten a copy yet or not. I want to get them copies. I just haven't been able to yet. But everyone else who has gotten a copy, I've gotten really nice messages, emails, just saying how proud they are to be featured and how well I told their story. Because there's a lot of stories in here that involve kids and kids and cancer, kids and autism, getting to meet certain wrestlers from the WWE and things like that. And their parents love the stories. They're very happy with the way they're told. So that's a big deal to me, because as a journalist, I always strive to be 100% correct as much as possible. So all the feedback I've gotten from the participants has been positive.
That's what I like to hear, man. Now, before we get out of here, we got to let these people know, where can they get the book at and everything.
Yeah, so you can go on to Amazon and get a print copy, the soft cover or ebook, or you can go to Barnes and Noble and get a soft cover or hardback, which just came out today. And otherwise, you can pretty much go anywhere. Books a Million, anywhere online, you can get it. So it's available. That's the one thing about the sequel. The first one was strictly available through Amazon. This one is a wide release. So I'm actually putting it in bookstores and everything.
I love to hear that. Now, I'm glad you touched on that, because I want to go there real quick. For the
Yeah.
young authors out there, I like to be inspirational myself when I talk to people. For the
Mhm.
young authors out there, they wrote a book, they can't get a publishing deal. They're a little worried. They don't know about getting their books into physical stores, brick and mortar stores. What would you tell them?
Do it yourself. I did this entire. So the mistake I made with my first book is I had an outside person edit it, and that was a mistake. I did not feel that I was up for editing my own material. There, you know how it is. You like to sometimes let other people listen to your stuff, or
Yeah.
to make sure it sounds good. That's the same with writing. I wanted someone else to read it, and that person did not do a good job, and so I wasn't happy. But with this one, I did everything myself, down to formatting, editing. I edited it 4 different times.
Okay.
So, that's what I would tell young writers is, don't be afraid to do it on your own. You can go on Amazon and have a book published on your own for completely free. So why not?
Okay. I love to
Yeah.
hear that.
That's my best advice is, do it yourself. Don't be scared, and just take your time with it.
Now, with all this, and you writing this book, you talk to some of these great fans. I gotta ask you, because it happens when people play sports. Sometimes they get disconnected to the sport because they're so worried about talking about the sport. Are you still a wrestler fan yourself, man? Are you still enjoying what you're seeing on the TV these days, or are you even watching it?
No, I watch it all the time.
Okay,
Every
okay,
Monday and Friday, I'm watching. Yeah. In fact, I'll be at Backlash.
okay. Perfect. Which is so. Let's talk about it a little bit real quick before we get out of
Yeah.
here, because I want to make sure these people know that you're a wrestling fan. You're
Mhm.
not just trying to monetize them, man. That you actually love the
Right.
sport yourself.
Right.
So, with that being said, man, what do you think about this Cody Cena stuff, and even Cena's his heel run?
I have not been happy with it, to be honest with you. I feel like they've missed the boat several times. I thought if you really wanted to put Cena over as a heel, you needed to have him destroy R-Truth at some point. And they've had opportunities and they didn't do it. So I felt like that's a miss. I felt like the match between him and Cody was really awkward. I felt like they had no chemistry together.
Okay.
And The entire Travis Scott thing, I just don't understand. And I'm a Travis Scott fan, man. I got a pair of his shoes, so I'm a huge Travis Scott fan, but I don't understand him getting involved.
I agree.
To me, it ruined the entire main event.
Well, since you brought him up, let's lead into something that's been going very viral.
Yeah.
The final boss, The Rock. Obviously, we know he wasn't at WrestleMania. Then he went on Pat McAfee's show the next day and tried to break down why he wasn't there. And then he even made a statement to Dave LaGreca. I don't know if you saw that statement
I did.
about,
I did.
yo,
Yeah.
calm down. Wrestling's a work. The whole business is a work. And everything The Rock is saying has been causing fire storms in the world of professional wrestling. What is going on with the People's Champ? I just had my buddy from TJ Legacy from Orlando Sentinel, and he made a statement that he believes The Rock likes wrestling now, but he doesn't love it because he's into so many other things. What do you think is going on with some of the stuff he's saying and what he's doing these days?
I think there is a power struggle between him and Triple H.
Okay.
I think he was more or less told to stay away, but they still figured he would show up. I've read things that he just shows up and doesn't tell anybody. And that's not good for business because then you got to rewrite the whole show. I think that he is involved with too much stuff. I mean, he's a movie star. That's where he makes his money now.
Yeah.
So he has to be loyal to his film career. And, you know, I just saw the trailer for the new film he's got coming out, The Smashing Machine or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It actually looks really, really good. It's a big departure for him playing the same role over and over. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm a huge Rock fan. He was one of my guys for years. And I still love The Rock. There's not many people that are better on the mic than The Rock. I mean, he oozes charisma. And when you ooze charisma like The Rock does, it really don't matter what you do.
Yeah.
So I wish he would either stick around or stay away. Yeah. Pick one or the other because you can't have it both ways.
I agree, man. That's kind of my thing because I'm like, he not only has to do, he's like you said, a movie star. Mm-hmm. He's part of the board for TKO.
Right.
He's part of the board for UFL football. Terramana, Papa Tui, his men's facial line. It's so many things he has his hands in. And because he's a very active person, he really does have his hands in these things. It's $7 production. It's not just his team, it's him.
Right.
And as we know, you're an author, you're a professor, you do a lot of things like that. But as you know, we can only give so much of ourselves to different things, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing with The Rock. I just think he's spreading himself too thin. Yeah. And really, he's oversaturated himself. And I think a lot of people are kind of tired of him. If he would take a 2 or 3 month vacation and not be heard from and then show up again, I think everyone would be happy.
Now, there's one last thing I did want to talk to you about because I see you post about it from time to time, and you don't go deep, but you definitely, I think, have an opinion on this. And if you want me to cut this, we can, but I got to ask. Hulk Hogan. I know you have a big opinion on Hulk Hogan, and I think your opinion kind of aligns with what I think, but I want you to go ahead and what do you think about the state of the Hulkster these days?
Oh, I was just talking about Hulk before I got on with you, and I grew up a Hulk fan.
Same.
I remember going to my first WrestleMania 30, and I actually got up at like 4:30 in the morning to go meet him, to get his autograph and get a picture with him. And I just then realized that he was all about the money.
Even then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just seemed like he didn't really care about his fans. I had been in his store a couple times after that, and a little kid had asked for a picture. He came out and took a picture with this little kid, and then told the dad it was going to be like $100 or something. And I was just like, man, that's wrong. Like, come on, you don't really need $100 that bad. And then after all this other stuff came out about him, And I actually met him the day after he gave the speech for Trump. He was
Okay.
here in St. Louis doing a
Here's a real
meet and
American
greet.
beer thing.
Yeah, for the Real American Beer. And that really was the end of it for me, man. I did not like what I saw there at all. You know, he's got the right to vouch for whoever he wants and support
Right, right,
whoever
right.
he wants. That's the American way, and I got no beef with that. But I'm not going to support somebody who goes against what I believe. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what he's done. He's really turned a lot of his fans against him, and I honestly believe he doesn't care.
That part right there. I've been a Hulk Hogan fan my whole life. I went to WrestleMania 3. I told you that. I
Mm-hmm.
met him at Arnold Schwarzenegger's Columbus Fest, his fest that he does. And
Yeah,
same thing, he was charging people $100 to skip the line if you want to take a picture with him. And I understand wrestling is a work, it's a whole business, but it's like,
sure.
bro, you got 20,000 people begging to just touch your arm, just look at you.
Right.
And that's how you're going to do these people, man? And
Yeah,
like you
man.
said, and I still try to believe. I went to Tampa, I went to the beach shop,
Mm-hmm.
and I still try to support because internally we're still Hulkamaniacs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. That's what got me into wrestling. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, I would not be a wrestling fan.
But it's just hard for me to ever. I'm gonna tell you, this is gonna sound crazy. I used to say Hulk Hogan was my white dad. That's how much you know what I mean. I love the man, and I wouldn't fight anybody that said anything bad about him. But it's hard to see what he stands for. But even then, like you just said, he can vote for who he wants to. He can believe what
Yeah,
he wants to. But to not care about the
right.
people that are telling you, Hulk, at least listen to this and act like you don't care. That's where it's like, bro, everything people have always said about him backstage makes you believe that that's was true.
Yeah, man. And you know, it's to me, it's just like the old saying, "Don't ever meet your heroes."
Yeah.
That holds true. I mean, it was a big disappointment. And I've been around enough athletes and wrestlers and celebrities to know that it more times than not it is going to be a letdown because we've built those people up in our head so much. You know, I mean, all those years of loving Hulk as a kid and still liking him when I was in high school and even college for a bit. You know, I still tell people one of the best matches I've ever seen was him and The Rock at WrestleMania.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. That's my
the,
that's my favorite match of all time.
yeah, that's probably top three for me. And if you go by just emotion alone, it'd be number one, I think.
Yeah.
And to know that all that is a facade and not real, it's a real letdown. And I definitely understand the booze and the negativity toward him because you know, like today that him and Bischoff just came out with that wrestling league they're doing,
Yeah.
the freestyle wrestling. It's gonna fail because
Oh,
anything
absolutely.
anything Hulk touches now is dead in the water. And
I mean,
that
even that
surprised me because Bischoff is a smart businessman, but when it comes to Hulk, he's blinded.
absolutely, and it's funny because Bischoff talks about he hates Brutus Beefcake. You've heard that, right?
Yeah. Oh
He,
yeah.
he
Oh yeah.
thinks Brutus is a leech to Hogan, but it's
Yeah.
something like Bischoff still looks up to Hogan at like a mark almost.
Yes.
You heard the story about how they say Tony Khan are still a mark for certain wrestlers. I
Yep.
think Bischoff is for Hogan. It's something about that. He cannot separate himself and disassociate himself with Hogan. So I don't
Absolutely.
know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was like, "Well," and I'm like, "You're just as naive as Hogan is." Well, they're just booing him because where they were at. If they were in Texas, they would love him. I'm like, no. The
No.
people have shown that they are upset with Hogan. Yes,
Yeah.
he might still get 100, 500 people to come see him at Real American Beer because they do
Yeah.
still have that old nostalgia. But
Yeah.
deep down, we look at the man differently than we did.
Yes. And to be honest, if he was going to appear again, I might go again just for the
Yeah,
heck of it because it's a show, man. Like the people watching and the people you meet there is worth it in itself. You know, and I met some great people there that I'd never met before, and we talked for 3 or 4 hours waiting for him. And we don't agree with each other politically. You know,
yeah,
I knew that right off the bat when they're wearing a MAGA hat. I'm like, well,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it was a kind of an eye opener for me because it really helped me realize at that point in time that I may not agree with their political views, but we still both love pro wrestling,
Yeah, yeah,
and we have that in common, and that's strong enough to keep us from butting heads.
for sure, for sure. But it's funny because when he came here, my buddy tagged me, and I had to take a step back because I wanted to go, and maybe it was the Lord said it. My car was down, so I couldn't go anyway that time. But that was the first time in my life that I ever questioned opportunity to be around Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep,
I'm 44 years old. All my
yep,
life, if there was any, I used to pray that Hogan would be within 100 miles of me, and I was going to go. And that was the
yep.
first time I was like, it's just, I don't know, man.
It just yeah, it. I had a very dirty feeling after
See,
leaving
yeah,
there. It's like it'd be like me rooting for the Denver Broncos or something like that. I would have to like take a cold shower every day or something.
I get it, man. I get it. I get it. Well, real quick before we get out of here, man, I gotta tell the people on the radio he has a St. Louis hat on, but he
I
ain't said
do.
a word about Sexy Red yet. But that's okay.
Oh man,
but,
don't get me going on her, man.
but seriously, you know you're from St. Louis, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
They have had a lot of talent come out there, whether it be musically, athletes. Who would you say was your favorite St. Louis person?
So it's probably a tie for me because obviously Nelly is my guy, man. I still love going to see Nelly. He was one of my first celebrity interviews when I was in college.
Okay.
He was a young cat. They had just dropped the Country Grammar album,
Ooh,
which
okay.
you're just a year ahead of me, but I think you probably remember that summer that album dropped. That was all you heard, man,
All day long, everywhere.
and it was awesome. And so I got to interview him, and he was actually touring with Onyx at the time.
Okay.
So that was really cool because their frontman, what Fredo, I think, Star,
Yeah, Fredo Star, yeah.
he was just in that the Last Dance movie or whatever
Okay.
with Julia Stiles. He played
Yeah.
like the villain in it. And so he was actually pretty popular. There was a lot of press wanting to talk to him at the time, and I was all about Nelly, and no one really knew who Nelly was.
Wow.
So I would say him. I got to see him with Janet Jackson last summer, and so I always enjoy him. And then John Hamm,
Ooh.
obviously. I mean, he's just a cool guy, and he represents St. Louis well. I mean, you'll see him out in L.A. rocking a Blues hat at a game or a Cardinals hat at a game. And so I'd say Johnny Ham would probably be the other one. And my wife's crazy about him too. So we always crack jokes about him.
That's
So
what's up,
yeah,
man.
because you know the ongoing joke about John Ham, don't you?
Which one?
Well, how he's very blessed.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. So we always crack jokes about that. So
Well, man, once again, thank you for coming on the show. Let them know how to get a hold of you, man. They might want to bring you in for a speaking engagement, anything.
yeah, absolutely. You can get me on my website, jeremyhousewright.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Dr. Jeremy Housewright, or Instagram, or Twitter, TikTok, all that. I'm usually under the same name on all of them, but the website's probably the best bet.
Sounds good. You guys heard that. Get the book, get the book, get the book. If you're a fan of pro wrestling, even if you're not a fan of pro wrestling, trust me, this is something you want to get your hands on to just try to absorb and understand the love and the connection people around the world have for this wonderful business that we love. Well, we're going to get on out of here. Guys, thank you as always for tapping in with us. The Wrestling Heroes of Insiders Podcast, aka The Whip Show, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys.